All right, guys, we are live on I believe, the 5th episode of the Cutting It Close live stream. So if you can let me know where you're from, where you're listening in from, in the comments in the chat section, please let me know that so we can see where everybody's tuning in from. I'm really excited for today's special guest. The special guest is going to be Hannah Gardner. I'll bring her on in a little bit. She is the most successful Etsy person that I have met, and she has a wide range of knowledge. She has a software she's built to help different Etsy sellers. And so if you have Etsy questions today, they will get answered, whether it's by me or by Hannah. She is not a woodworker. I do want to preemptively say that. She is not a woodworker. She does not own a CNC. So I wanted to bring her on to give a different perspective of an Etsy seller's mindset. She has multiple different people she mentors to help with their Etsy success. And so I'm very excited to bring her on. We've been in talks about coming on this live stream for a few months now, and she's a very busy person. So she's finally been able to make it work. So I'm very excited to bring her on. And whenever y'all guys do have questions for her, leave that in the comments because her answers are going to be gold. I get a lot of guidance from her on my personal Etsy shop and things we're doing, to help grow the Etsy community and all that good stuff. Really quickly, we have a lot of guys from the US here today, not a ton from too many people from overseas today. So that is good. Updates as far as the shop goes. Next week's live stream will be live inside the shop on a CNC. Haven't worked out all the kinks yet, but we will be live on a CNC. So let me know in the comments of what projects you want me to work on the CNC in the lives. So let me type that in real quick. And I wish I could type faster, guys. I am not very good at that. So let me know in the comments what y'all like to see on next week's live stream. And once again, we'll be live on the CNC inside the shop. I'll probably have an alt mill. I may have another surprise CNC for you to start working on. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Hannah. She calls herself EcomHannah, which rightfully so. She has made a lot of, I'll let her tell a story. Let's put it that way. She has done very well for herself, and she's going to bring a lot of value. So I'm very excited to introduce her. So give a warm welcome to Hannah.
Wow, that was a really nice intro. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you guys thank you for having me here today. This is definitely a new niche, I guess, that we're venturing into. So I just discovered our little chat. I put I'm talking in the chat too, but I'm under my ProfitTree account. So if you see ProfitTree, that's me.
That's Hannah, everybody. The ProfitTree with the hi, everyone.
But my YouTube channel is EcomHannah, so there's that. But I couldn't connect it to the thing. But
and I'll post her YouTube channel. I'll post your YouTube channel real quick, Hannah, so everybody can take a look at you and see all of that and give you a nice subscribe.
Awesome. Nice. Well, thank you so much. I've never sold anything in the woodworking space, but if you're selling on Etsy, a lot of the same strategies and rules apply to doing listing optimization, your research and scale, and ultimately scaling and basically running the business. A handmade business is pretty similar to any other handmade business in terms of the logistics and all the things that have to happen. So I also I've started 2 handmade Etsy companies and Shopify as well. One was a fast fashion jewelry company. And then the second one that I still currently operate is a home decor company. And that's basically comprised of really expensive pillow covers that we make in the United States. So we're not using wood machines, but we are selling a lot of things and doing a lot of quality control of fabric and stuff like that. But I got into Etsy basically back in 2019, and I sold in my first year. That a lot of people know me for this one video on YouTube that kind of went viral because back then no one was really sharing their numbers. But the first year we did 1.1 million. And I always say that, but I preference that with I had 2 years of entrepreneurial failures of like doing different things that made me learn a lot of skills that, you know, that those revenue numbers were off the back end of 2 years of basically just in the school of hard knocks, not achieving one singular thing. And so I always like just to preference that. And then in the preceding years, we continued to do 7 figures. I actually got suspended at one point. I share all of this on my YouTube channel. Also, by the way, all the good ups and downs. We got suspended on Etsy for 9 months, the second year, which forced us to learn Shopify. So then we scaled Shopify to over $500,000 and still actually ended up doing pretty good numbers on Etsy as well. Got that account back. And then somewhere in between then and that, I started a second brand, which is something I never recommend people do. And my YouTube channel, and then now ProfitTree. So this is, again, something I actually coach people to not do, which is do multiple businesses at the same time. And I obviously learned the hard way, but now we are juggling quite a few things because obviously Ryan knows YouTube alone is a full-time thing, which is kind of crazy. All the different things that Ryan does between your community, your warehouses, and all the things. So, but yeah, that's a little bit about me. The short version, I guess.
so what did you fail at first, Hannah, before you got like was it failed Etsy shops or was it just failures coming off the rip? Like just
so at the time it was all about like Facebook ads and media buying and starting a media buying agency. And I got into like this group of entrepreneurs and that's what they were doing. It was all about like trying to get clients to run their ads, and media buying just meaning on Facebook and Instagram. Like at the time, that's what that meant. You were charging people a fee to manage their ads. And ultimately what I was trying to do was like the first thing that I would try to do is I was trying to get plastic surgeon offices because basically I wanted to run their ads and build out their funnels to drive traffic to like plastic surgeons and med spas, because the strategy and the funnels and the marketing that works for one specific location in a geographical area most likely is going to work for another office in like in California. You just tweak a few things, change the offer a little bit. And so it's like kind of was like a plug and play thing. If you were running your ads for physical businesses, because it was like, again, one strategy would work the same for a different one. And you could just get 20 med spas under your belt and do the same type of marketing. And it didn't matter because they were in different locations. Okay. However, I failed miserably at that because I was a really bad agency operator and I didn't know how to say no to things. So I would take in the biggest amateur mistake you can make in an agency world for marketing is like saying yes to every person that wants to give you money. And so that's kind of what I did. And so I ended up with like random clients and random niches. And the problem with that is that one business type has very different needs, wants, fears, and goals than a different business. And so what ended up happening is I actually ended up getting a lot of e-commerce clients. And I just like learned the hard way that like an e-commerce is not like a physical location, because if you're selling wood products and then you're selling leisure athletic wear, like those are two different customer avatars that require two different strategies. There's different breakdowns of their products, different funnels, different offers, different prices. It's all just different. And so I was just super overwhelmed because I just didn't qualify my clients properly and I just hated my life. But anyway, long story short, one of my clients had an Etsy store and that's where I was like, whoa, Etsy is so much easier than Shopify. And so then I was like, all right, let me just switch this and let me go like basically learn how to manufacture products and do this. And so that's how I got into Etsy basically.
Okay. And I think you make I'm going to ask the audience the question while we're talking here. What do they think is better and I'm going to context this with better in the short term, Etsy or your own website. And I want to kind of circle back to the, when you said saying no is one of the amateur mistakes that you made. So, I don't think it's that different for woodworkers or CNC operators as well, because, what happens is, you say yes to somebody that you have to take on their accounts and then you have to do all the postings and try to get leads for them. And so it takes you, let's say, 20 hours of work, right? Mm-hmm. If we say yes as a woodworker and do all the design work and do all the other kind of work, we're still looking at 10, 20 hours as well. And so I see this happen time and time again. I'm still particularly guilty of it because I'm trying to stay busy and, you know, keep the business doors open and keep running. And what happens is you end up saying yes, you end up passing up on all the good opportunities because you say yes to everybody. And so you're a master of nothing. You have no great clients coming in, and the great one that passes you by, you're too busy to take them on. And so I think that applies everywhere, which is funny. That's why I like talking with you, Hannah, because your lessons that you're learning in a different hemisphere, I would say, same planet, different hemisphere of jewelry and pillows and agencies, which I don't even want to get started on what agencies actually do. I have no idea. I just know they handle stuff. You know, it's all the same, right? It's all trying to do something that you're passionate about, trying to help people, trying to create. And I think that's, you know, that's pretty cool. So
saying no, and that's like it's a hard thing for entrepreneurs to do. It's like you want to say yes to everything, especially in the beginning, but saying no to something is actually saying yes to something else. And so like I'm just trying to relate this maybe to like a woodworker or something. Like I don't know if you're particularly talking about like if someone gets a custom order or they have a client that wants a custom thing and everything is like super hyper custom, and that's a lot of effort for the woodworker, right? Like, sure, you can do that if you're charging premium prices. Like I know a guy that does like $10,000 wood tables or whatever, but like, and that's fine if you're charging $10,000 for a table. But if you just say, or even with us, with our pillow company, like there's a point where we had to stop saying yes to a custom size pillow. It's like, no, we can't, we're not ruining our processes to make you this 28 by 32 pillow, you know, like a custom thing, because doing that and the effort that's required, saying yes to that is messing up our flow and our systems and it's, you know, our costs and everything. So it's kind of like, it's better to say no to things and figure out how to really build a strong engine that's super streamlined. I don't know if that's kind of what you were trying to get at, but
yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. And Greg with STL Woodworking. Hello, Greg. Good to see you, man. You know, I think this is a good point about a website, but I want to get your opinion on this, Hannah, is how did you scale that website? You know, you got kicked off of Etsy year and a half into it, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then you grew your website to $500,000 in sales the following calendar year. How did you do that?
Yeah, so we actually collected a lot of our data from our Etsy shop. So Etsy shop, so like the listings that would be like our hottest sellers on Etsy, I'm telling you, out of the 1,500 SKUs, I'm talking like 5 listings, 1,500 SKUs, like 400 listings. So SKUs and listings, right? Like listings are comprised of SKUs. So like we had about 400 listings when I was running it. And so let's just say our 5 to 10 top sellers on Etsy, right? We would take those top sellers on Etsy and those are the ones that we would run ads to in Meta. And only out of those like 10, only like maybe 5 of them would actually be profitable with ads. And so, but we did get it down to a point with our Meta ads that we got our ads scaled to $2,000 a day in spending on Meta. So we were spending, and it's not like Etsy where if you put your budget to 1,000, it's not going to spend. And like if you put it to 1,000, maybe it spends 200. If you spend $2,000 a day on, if you put your budget to $2,000 a day on Facebook, it's going to spend $2,000 a day. And we had that running profitably. And so for woodworkers making, I don't know, cutting boards, personalized stuff, like the personalized stuff in your space works really, really well. And historically, you know, that would be kind of your engine. Validate your products, collect your data from Etsy, pull out the best sellers from there. Those are the ones you're going to want. Those are your best shot at the ones that you want to run Facebook and Instagram ads to. And we would run ads to our actual video. So we had a video that worked, but sometimes, especially for home decor and like woodworking stuff, a lot of times you can get away with still getting your ads profitable just with static imagery and not having to do videos all the time. Sometimes, I don't know, it's something to test, but it's just a very different engine. Shopify and Etsy is just, they have two different needs, wants, fears, and goals for traffic. It's a different thing.
And I think what like STO and Greg hit the nail right on the head is if you have a website, and like websites take a lot to build, you know, I like starting an Etsy shop first, then building a website, because you already do all the photography, you do the stuff, you validate product, and then then you build the website, because a website you're going to have to drive traffic to. whether you're a creator, whether you're using Facebook ads, Google ads, etc. And I see a lot of people make that mistake because they build the website and they like celebrate when they launch it because they get everything perfect. And they launch it and they sit back and they get so sad because nothing happens. And it's like, yes, Google takes years to validate that you're legit and not scamming people. And then on top of that, you have to just drive traffic to it. And there's all the nuances within managing a website that is a full-time job.
It's really in the beginning, it's a time issue. Like you only have so much time, right? And trying to run a Shopify engine and an Etsy engine and do your fulfillment and your customer service by yourself.
And the manufacturing of it, right?
And your manufacturing. It's just like you don't have the time. So you're going to have two broken engines other than just focusing on one, letting that one become so profitable that now money is comfortable to now that you can free up your time to then focus on a new sales channel. It's just like, I know we think like out the gates, like, oh, it's just a Shopify store. I'm selling the same products. It's not that hard. But the requirements for running an engine of Shopify is so much effort. Like, I don't care what anyone says, unless you literally just have a viral product that went viral on TikTok or Instagram, which 99% of the people don't have that sitting that underneath their product line. It's just like, it's a full-time thing. And so it's better just to master one, scale your Etsy shop as basically, this is my rule of thumb. Once one sales channel is not only running by itself, but almost to the point where it's growing by itself, which on Etsy, what is growing by itself? It means your ad budget is to the max and you have a launch process happening that you're not doing. That means you have outsourced that part of your business where now only 5 to 10% of your daily energy goes to that thing. Once you have that situation going on with your Etsy and you have time, then you as the CEO focus on new ways of making money or new sales channels. And that's the green light for, okay, I'm ready for Etsy now. There's low hanging fruit stuff you can do to drive, your Etsy traffic to Shopify, but it's just really not a priority, especially in the beginning. The priority is to get that engine as strong as possible. And then once you have time, then you focus on your second and your third, sales channels. And it's really, that's really what it is. It's another business that you're starting in a way, even though it's the same brand and same products.
Yeah. And I want to just kind of caveat onto that, caveat, if that's the actual word here. And for quick reference, if y'all guys are just not tuning in, this is EcomHannah. She has a YouTube channel. Super invite you to go and like it, give it a subscribe. She's done millions on Etsy, millions outside of Etsy on her own website. And she is on a very high level of how to automate this, how to scale it. She has multiple different Etsy shops she runs and a software company she made. So for the guys that have been tuned in since the beginning, Hannah, you want to talk a little bit about your software, and then I'll show just a little snippet of it, and then we can dive into it a little later on during the live.
Yeah, for sure. So ProfitTree was built specifically in the beginning for like people like us, like true handmade sellers. One of the big pain points for my own shop was that I had over 1,500 SKUs or variations of products, and I had no way to see my profit in real time. And a big part of seeing your profit in real time is tracking something called your cost of goods sold, aka your product costs, which is something I'm sure you all are very familiar with in the woodworking space. It's associating the cost, your costs, inclusive. I include my labor into my costs, inclusive of labor correlating every sale that you get to a product cost. So then at the end of the month, you can have a line item that says, this was my product cost, these were my Etsy selling fees, these are my marketing fees, and this was my true profit. And so the first functionality of ProfitTree is that we do Cogs management. So we do exactly what I just said. We help you see that box there that says 98,500. That is your product cost bucket, right? And that without knowing that, you don't know your true profit. And so what ProfitTree does, it allows you to do Cogs management and sync every sale that you get to its actual product cost so that you can see your operating profit at the end of the month. That is the first core functionality of this. I mean, we give you a lot of really cool KPIs here. Like you can see your profit percentages, you can see your ad spend amount, you can see your average order value, your total units sold, and like month over month, you're always trying to improve these metrics, right?
Yeah.
Go
And
ahead.
Hannah, I'm gonna jet in on this one. And so this is for one of my Etsy shops where I sell outdoor coolers called Frio Ice Chest. And this is our last year's stats. And so whenever I got with Hannah, she was showing me this and she likes other things about it. I am the most simple jack person ever. And so I want to see how much, like, let me just go into some of this because this is like really, really cool stuff. And if y'all are liking this stuff, don't forget to like this live stream. It does help out, and leave a comment because all that stuff helps the YouTube gods. But what's so cool about this, and so if any of y'all are running Etsy shops, you come in this back end and you put it automatically links to your Etsy shop. You get to put in your cost of goods sold on some of your different things. And so I have this cedar cooler right here. And so I put in how much it cost me to make. And then what this thing does, what ProfitTree does, is it tracks your cost of goods sold that you typed in, which is pretty simple. But then it tracks all your different Etsy expenses. And so you have the transaction fees, the processing fees, the listing fees. If you ship through Etsy, it's going to calculate that. And it also looks at your ad cost. And so it'll automatically take off your cost of goods sold and all the Etsy fees and let you know what you're actually running. And so it'll do this on like a day-to-day basis. And so outdoor coolers suck really bad, in January. And so we haven't done much in the last 7 days, but it'll show us that in real time, what we are doing on a week-to-week basis, a day-to-day basis. And what I like about it, just me personally, Hannah, is like I can come over here, I see my profit margin, which a little low. And so I can come and adjust, and I see my ad cost went up 23% compared to the previous week. And then I can come down here, there's a beautiful pie chart. And then over here, which I personally really, really like, if you have multiple different listings on your Etsy shop, it'll combine all of those SKUs for you. And so you can see what your most profitable product is. And so like last year, I can see how many units sold of that, not the listing, of the product itself. And then the net sales, the cost of goods sold, the operating expense, and I can actually see the highest profit margin and all that stuff all on this. And so it is like, for me, this is my thing I look at on a daily or bi-daily, 3-4 times a week. I'm looking at this, seeing how profitable are we. I update the cost of goods sold every now and then. And so it's just really cool to see, like, and come over here to the dashboard. This is our last quarter. So this is Q4 during Christmas. How much we did, how much we paid out in fees. And it makes it really simple for me to know if I'm making money. Hannah likes it for other reasons. I like the most simplest features. And I do want to say, Hannah, that you keep in mind, like, Hannah built all of this. So she can make jewelry, pillows, and do all of this data stuff.
Software is a whole new game for me, but we're learning. I mean, we can only get better. I mean, we have a lot of plans for 2025 to really improve this tool like crazy. But thank you so much for your kind words. And I mean, you're running a really healthy shop here with some really, really good margins. Just looking at this one, you might have to hit that start synchronizing since it needs.
Yeah, that's right. I always mess that up.
That's okay. That's okay. But yeah. This is, I mean, like you said, like the dashboard showing like your basic breakdown of the health of your shop, right? And I think that pie chart is really the best thing for people because it's like that visual. So you can see, oh, my ad cost is getting too high. Okay, I need to be more strict with my ads. Or, something like we discovered is like we didn't charge for shipping. And actually, when we started charging for shipping, it didn't actually change anything in terms of the amount of orders we got. It just actually saved us like $20,000 last year. But yeah, you have really healthy ad cost percentage there at only 10%. Yeah. But go ahead.
I do want to get into that later because it's pretty cool. But like, for y'all guys who don't have Etsy shops or like are scared and don't know how much the fees are, like, once again, this stuff is like the most simple, basic thing. And so a lot of people, a lot of woodworkers in particular, they'll run Etsy shops and they'll make a whole bunch of sales, but not have any money coming in. And so at least know like, hey, do I have money coming in? Am I actually making a profit? And then I can go listing by listing and look at it. And so I'm a hop off of this, Hannah, for just a second and see if we have any questions based on this, and then we'll hop back into it in a little bit.
Sweet.
And I did provide a link for that, guys. I'll pin the link. Hannah's she once again, she is the owner. If you're looking at her, she is running it.
And we're open to as much critical feedback as well. I mean, that is part of this game. Software is that you go to market and everyone tells you everything that they want or what you want to change. And so all of that feedback is great because that tells us what we need to focus on. So we love critical feedback. Someone put, does ProfitTree only work for Etsy or can it work for Shopify as well? That's a great question. It's right now only integrating with Etsy, Printify, and Printful. Unfortunately, Shopify is something that we have to decide here what direction we're going to go probably within the next year, whether we're going to go on Shopify and start focusing on Shopify. Because tools like this do exist already for Shopify. We just went after the Etsy customer because no one was doing it for Etsy. So yeah, we have to decide here. Maybe we go Shopify route, or we might just become like the all-in-one suite for Etsy sellers and do more, go into other things like maybe bulk editing listings. I don't know. There's a million one cards we could pick up, but we haven't really decided yet. But right now our two core features is the Cogs management and the ads optimization.
Yep. And I do want to ask, we'll ask that real quick. How many of you run Etsy ads or any other form of ads? Boom. Boom. I'm going to ask that question to the audience to see if we get a good answer from anybody. So Bradley Johnson asked, Hannah, any tips for being an online salesman marketing to an online audience? And yeah, I'll let you take that one.
Me, like marketing to, you're marketing to
an online audience. So like, I'm guessing, Bradley, can you give us some context? Are you like a content creator, or are you just posting on social media like Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that? Or can you actually talk and they see your face and verbalize and stuff like that? So once you give us context on that, Bradley, we can definitely help out with that. And it looks like, Hannah, you have a lot of people that want to hire you. I saw one up over here.
Unfortunately,
unfortunately, it's a half-hour one-on-one. So, what is the best way to reach out to you, Hannah? Is that
okay? Actually, I have a community where we do bi-weekly coaching. And the groups are small. Like I did one on Tuesday. There was only like, I don't know, there's less than like 10 people that show up, even though more than that are paying for it. But that's like pretty much like one-on-one. I unfortunately don't do one-on-ones anymore because, man, I would be on these calls. I just don't know how to say no. And I would end up staying on the call for like 3 hours. But that's, and my YouTube, we answer all of our comments. You can also message us in Intercom and ProfitTree. Half the time I'm the one answering them there as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Do you want to, you can, in Hannah, you can post anything. I'll pin it if you have any way, to any of your weekly, bi-weekly coaching calls and stuff like that. So,
okay. Yeah, I can put a link to my school community in there, but yeah, that's probably, that's as cheap as you get with the bi-weekly. That's the thing with the coaching, the group coaching, like so many people, it's like the gym, so many people pay for it, but no one shows up. So it's almost like one-on-ones. I try to post the link in there. The comment has failed to post.
Well, you can just text it to me and I'll get it on there.
Okay.
Let me see. I have another question for you, Hannah.
Okay.
How long have you been on Etsy?
Since 2019.
2019. Mm-hmm. How has Etsy changed, and particularly in like the handmade, if you can go woodworking space? So how has Etsy changed in the last 3-4 years?
Yeah.
In woodworking.
So in woodworking, and honestly, like even my jewelry space, because jewelry was the most competitive then, it's even more competitive now. I think back then jewelry was more so than print on demand, like more competitive on Etsy.
Yeah.
And I still entered that space. So what has changed? What has changed is that you need to have more competitive imagery and more competitive storytelling. So if you're an actual handmade business and you're making your products, you need to tell that story. So all the little video clips, you like in your video and your listings, you can make a standard video montage, like where basically you record it on your phone, like, you know, like the TikTok videos, but there's no sound obviously, but you can show your face waving to your camera, showing yourself actually cutting the wood, right? And I mean, the beginning part of your videos can be the actual product, but in the video, or maybe even in your imagery, somewhere in the follow-up images, you want to show and tell the story that you're an actual handmade business. You're not just drop shipping this stuff from Alibaba. You're not just reselling Chinese products. You want to show that you're an actual handmade business making these goods. And that's a unique selling proposition that makes you convert in a space where you potentially are competing against Chinese resellers, basically.
So like right here, we did this on my my top
Yeah.
selling listing, and it's exact thing we did, because we had a ton of Chinese people coming in here. And so what we did, the very first snippet of the video is made in the USA.
Yep.
And then we show our process. Is this what you're talking about, Hannah?
Exactly. Like that is exactly the storytelling I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then you put some babies in there. Yeah. Yeah.
Put babies, show its original stuff. And so that is very, like, that is super key now on Etsy more than ever, you would say?
Exactly. Like that's just, it was not as, I mean, obviously if you did it back then, that was great, but like now it's just more pressing that you're telling that story of being handmade. Your about me section, your about me video, right? All these little micro moments of truth that like we could overlook before, like now it's just more important. Same thing with our jewelry. Like we had Chinese sellers buy our jewelry, take our molds, like molds that only we had on the internet. And we would go find our exact molds being sold on Amazon for $10 for a necklace that we would sell for $58. And so then we would get all these complaints. Oh my God, I can just get it on Amazon cheaper. Like you're just whatever. And it's like, no. That mold did not exist until we made it. That's not us. And so then we would like have to fight people. So it was like,
give me an example of a mold, Hannah. Like what is
like
that?
a mold is like, I mean, a mold is anything. A mold is that letter right there, the D, the way that there's a white inside the DE
right
on
here?
the left. Yeah, like that is a 3D rendered printed mold that someone had to design that. They had to choose that font of that E. They had to just pick that color, that hex color of that white inside of the gold thing. Like that is the design, right? Like all those little micro moments, someone had to measure out that millimeter of the thickness of the whiteness. They had to choose the font of the C. You know what I mean? And so like people can easily take your something and then remold it and then say it was theirs, basically, in the jewelry space at least. But I mean, go ahead.
So like the jewelry space is more competitive and probably more cutthroat than woodworking, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, probably because it's just an easier barrier of entry, because it's so much easier to rip it, I would say.
Yeah.
But honestly, the thing is like what you have to realize is that is just the name of the game, though, of any business that becomes popular. That's just what happens. So it's like you can't really let it discourage you. I mean, yeah, it's like frustrating, but like you just have to build a better business. And so that's why like competition is not a bad thing. It forces us to innovate and become better like owners and CEOs, because it's not going away. So it's like we have two options. We can cry, and that's what happened like in 2021 and 2022 when Etsy started blowing up. You had all these sellers that were on Etsy since 2012 and just crying their eyes out. And it's like, okay, well, what have you done to innovate your product line in 10 years? You know what I mean? It's like, you're competing. It's it's business, like it's competition. And so there was a lot of older sellers that went through a really rude awakening that I worked with, or like they never touched ads, but they had been selling for 7 years, you know, and it's like, how does that happen? I don't know. You know, so it's like,
so how did you handle, like, how do you get ahead? And this is me selfishly, I'm actually genuinely curious. How do you get ahead of other jewelry sellers? Because it seems like all the photos are relatively the same. And so it seems kind of, let me go back a little bit, but it seems, sorry, searching piggy banks, guys. Right here we go. So like it seems like most pictures, you can't be that much different, right? It's not like you can use different types of wood like we can. What is it that gets you ahead?
So fast fashion jewelry, there, that's actually my listing right there. I mean, it's an ad, but that picture right there. So let me just explain to you. That's my best friend Eve. So don't move. This is a really, really good example.
Okay.
Let me explain to you. There's two things. Fast fashion jewelry and that is the one that got ripped because
this
that
one right
mold,
here?
that coin mold did not exist before we made it. Okay, so let me just explain. So a couple of things here running around in my mind. So fast fashion or just new product innovation in general is always changing. So there's always going to be a new trend, right? It's been gold for a long time, but guess what? Maybe next year it turns into silver, right? And so in fast fashion, for us to compete, we have to be on top of the new thing. That pay-per-click link I was probably like one of the first to market a pay-per-click link like that. I mean, paperclip links, I didn't invent a paperclip link, but when they started going like viral, I was like one of the first 3 on Etsy that had it basically.
And
so
all
it's fun.
3 of these listings are all paperclip links, it looks like.
I mean, there's so many people that have paperclip links now. You didn't search, you searched necklace, but it's funny that this was my most viral product. Like this listing right here has made me over $500,000.
This one right here.
Just this listing. And so
I'm not clicking on it, guys, because it's going to cost her a couple cents, and we are paying attention around here.
Yeah, and so okay, so there's that. So it's always being innovative, right? Okay. Another part of a thing that we thrived in was pattern interrupt imagery. So go back up to the top.
Pattern interrupt imagery.
So I swear to God, the little green in this corner is like it's an offset, and also the skin, the color of her skin, and the hair coming down the side of this image. It's like if you look at the panel of the 8 images that we're looking at, which one pops out to you most?
Yeah, right there because of the corner.
If we ran a test of where most of the clicks were gravitating to, I can promise you that it's not always pattern obviously it's the product as well. It's not always just pattern interrupt, but when you're doing your photography, you're looking for pattern interrupt opportunity. And sometimes you don't nail it. Sometimes you think it's going to be a pattern interrupt and it tanks, but that comes with testing. And so that is something that we really went crazy on. We test everything. We will test a product 4, 5, 6 times to see which one wins or to see which one takes off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and why I like this, because like a pattern interrupt, I mean, obviously I know what they're trying to do here on this one, but they don't understand that's women shopping, not men. So
exactly. That one, I don't know about that, but, and you can't even see the product, but I swear the contrast of the golden and the color of her skin and the green on that, like I swear by that. And so if we know that image works really well, right, we're going to try to recreate it. And so we're always looking for that pattern interrupt opportunities.
Okay.
You know, and it's something that you just test and you do it over and over and over again to just try. But you know,
what you're saying is just like pick the thing like you want to be found under. Let's just say it's stovetop cover, right? And you see what pops up. And then you kind of recognize the patterns, like all of these are brown. And so do I do a different background to try to pop up a little bit more and make myself like make the person stop and like think for just a split second, right? That's what you're trying to do.
Right. Like this one, like what would be the pattern interrupt for me?
I'm doing this live for you, Hannah. I'm putting you on the spot. Let's just see. And a lot of these it's all wood. So wood's a little different. But, you know, that one's not a bad pattern interrupt right there.
Yeah. That one, I saw like a white one.
Yep, the white one. I saw that. Okay.
A lot of these, like, I mean, obviously for people doing this at home and you're kind of going with what countertop you have. So it is a little bit more difficult. That white one is kind of a pattern interrupt. Anything where there's like a lot of contrasting prints. So like if we go up to that $115 one, like that with the backsplash, that's distracting to me. Right. Like, that one, it's like contrast, like
it's a little much.
It's too, like, it's just like too distracting, right? You want the product and the value proposition of the product to be the center focal point of the,
this one, for example, Hannah, would be nobody's wanting to buy that candle, right? Like don't put a candle on it.
I would say absolutely not. Like it's just distracting you from the value of and so this was actually a common issue in jewelry as well. It's like someone would do a picture of an earring and they would have an earring here, an earring here, an earring here. This is the same, like parallel to that candle example. and then they click on the listing and you just earn that click, but they clicked on the listing because they thought they could get the whole set of earrings, but you're only selling this earring. And you don't want to do that because now you just earn that click. And then if you paid for that click with an ad, the person thought they could buy everything that they saw, but now they can't because they're actually only selling this thing. So your main image at least needs to clearly, you have 3 seconds to earn a click. Without someone reading anything, they need to understand what you're selling and what the unique value proposition is. It's a stove cover with personalization. They need to understand that. If there's a candle, even the knife sets in the background, that can be distracting a little bit. I mean, you can have that, accents in your follow-up imagery, but in the main imagery, it's like you really like, even if the knife set shows, maybe that's okay, but it's maybe cut off or something. But the main focal point is that thing that you're selling. Does that make sense?
Yep. I gotta, and I'm gonna do a cheese curdler over here. Etsy has tanked. Do you see that across the board? Because I haven't. 2021 was probably my best year, but I think it was because of COVID. But I wouldn't say it's like falling off a cliff. I think it's like last year was better than the previous year, or 2024 was better than 2023 for our shop.
Well, let me just give you 2 ways, I guess, to look at that. So like, I mean, in 2020, whenever it was like COVID time, people were selling face masks, all that stuff. Like, yeah, everyone saw crazy. And now it might be the market's correcting itself, but that doesn't mean that people are not online shopping. My pillow company did the best numbers in 2020. Actually, from 2023 to 2024, we did about the same. This January, this month, we just had our biggest month in the last 4 years of selling on Etsy. This month, finally, for the first time, for my pillow company. And that was a product of innovating our product line in a way that we had never done before. So
what made you get into pillows and go away from jewelry?
Because my dad lost his job during COVID. And I had this like idea to like import this like mud cloth fabric that is such a pain to work with. And then I was like, let's start a business, Dad. Like, let's go into business together. And so then we started this pillow company, and it has been a long journey, but it's doing good. Our goal is to do, it's been a much slower process, like not like jewelry. Jewelry was like a turn and burn type of product. Pillows, very different, a lot of space required, more, not as much space as you guys need, but like warehousing, sewing, quality control, all that stuff. But basically the idea was because and there was no data behind that decision of why pillow covers. It was because we had this like idea of this certain type of mud cloth pillow. And so then we just started chasing it. But anyway, back to Etsy tanking. No, like this year, we're probably going to beat all of our numbers compared to the previous years. But it's how you innovate your product line. There's always room to do more if you're innovating and being that type of business owner, basically. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you were talking about this with me before we, before we went live, I guess, and backstage. You were talking about Etsy ads. Mm-hmm. Do you want to dive a little bit more into that? Because you said a fully optimized Etsy shop has maxed out their Etsy ad potential. A lot of people are very scared to run ads because they don't see how it's worth it, or their margins are too thin. I can go on and on and on. What is your opinion on Etsy ads? And then we can probably pop back up ProfitTree because it's
sure.
And I want to ask the audience if they do have an Etsy shop, do you run Etsy ads, or what are y'all opinion? What is you guys? God, I am so Texan, so country. What is you guys' opinions on Etsy ads? And if you can explain that, Hannah.
Yeah, I'm trying to share. Can you guys? I can share my screen here. I have like a little bit of like a
boom
a case study. Can you see it? Is on screen? Yep. I can't see you now, so if you want to say something, just let me know.
Yeah, no, you're good. Your screen is shared.
Yeah, so Etsy, in my opinion, if you want to be successful on Etsy, I can't talk for Shopify, I can't talk for TikTok Shop. I'm talking about Etsy specifically. If you want to win the game of Etsy, like Etsy is a third-party selling platform. That means there's a cryptic set of rules that you follow. right? And you're not just doing things that you want to do because you want to do it. You want to win at the game of Etsy because in the way that Etsy wants you to win the game. And so the way that Etsy wants you to win the game is they not only want you to have great listings and great products and good customer service and high average order values, all these things. On some level, they're also judging sellers, saying, okay, who's willing to invest in their listings when others are not, right? And the numbers speak for themselves when you look at a shop that invests in marketing for their shop versus shops that don't. At minimum, what we've seen is at least a 2x in revenue and at least a 25% increase in profit at the very, very lowest end.
So explain what we're seeing here. So you have a couple percentages up. What are we looking at?
Right. So this is some shop stats from actually 2023 because I made this before 2024 ended. So here is a case study example of a shop that did $300,000, right, at $107,000 profit, right, and they spent $43,000 in ads in 2023, right. So what we're looking at is, okay, well, if we did not spend that $43,000, so the $40,000 here and the $2,100 here from on-site ads and off-site ads, right? The loss of revenue would have been over $150,000. So this $300,000 in revenue would have dropped to less than $150,000 in revenue if this $43,000 was not spent. So now it's like, okay, well, let's run the numbers to see what the profit difference would have been. Right? Not revenue. We don't care about revenue because if ads aren't making more profit, we wouldn't even need to have this conversation, right? And so if we did not invest that $43,000, you can subtract out the 137 and the 18 from the top line. The revenue would have dropped to 145,000, right? The profit margin would have increased to over 50% because there was 14% that went to ads. So 15 plus 35, right? That would have brought it up to 50% profit, basically. So the new profit would have dropped from 107 to 32, so 72,000, right? So the minimum loss of profit would have been $34,000 in profit without ads, right? So we know that ads increase your profit if you do it correctly. So now the question is, if we're running ads, how do we optimize our ads? And so going back to the whole game of Etsy and the way that Etsy wants you to play it, right? There's only two ways to max out an Etsy ad shop, right? And arguably you could never max it out if you run the engine properly, which is getting your ads to the max. Once your ads are to the max, how do you make more money? You have to launch more products, right? And once you hit a ceiling for your product line and just launching the same product over and over again isn't making you more money, what do you do then? You launch new products in different product categories that attract new customer avatars. And that's what we saw with our pillows in 2024, right? Launching the same expensive pillows wasn't moving the needle. So we have to go into wall art or placemats or blankets or curtains, right? We have to go into different categories to attract new customer avatars. And that's what we started doing in Jan 1 of this year. And that's why this January, we just beat our numbers for all of the years combined for January.
So, Hannah, can I share my screen, and I'm gonna share my actual Etsy ads that I'm running on my Etsy shop, and then my ProfitTree, and you can kind of walk us through what all this means. And I'm just gonna be trying to be candidly open with everybody here on, I guess, everything. And so what Hannah's saying, at least from what I'm getting, is because a lot of y'all right now in the comments are asking about we're the only employees. How do I run ads? How does it work? Very simply put, like what she's talking about is, first off, you can't be scared to run ads. And so just real quick, I'm running ads at $1,000 a day on my Etsy shop, but it's not spending $1,000 a day. It's only spending, $100. Now, last month, it was spending $1,000 a day because it was Christmas, but it also made us $125,000 in revenue.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Which is
okay. So this is actually a really good point to somebody that was getting a little bit scared about Etsy ads. Someone said, can I afford Etsy ads? So that actually, that is a perfect, I just want you to re-bring that up, that showing the December into the January, how it drops.
Yeah. So I mean, even right here, there's January 2nd, we were spending a whole month. Like, let's go last month again.
Look
There's
at how
our
it
ad
drops.
spend.
Yeah.
We're maxed out.
So why does that happen? Why was during Christmas it was spending the max, and then as soon as we went into January it drops? So the way that Etsy bills you is something called PPC, which means pay per click. So people have this flawed idea that Etsy ads just waste your budget and it just they can't afford it. But the thing is if you gave Etsy $1 and Etsy gave you back $10, right? Wouldn't you want to give Etsy $1,000 so that they give you back $10,000? That's how you have to think of it. And so the reason why your ads accounts drop down is because the traffic that's hitting Etsy slowed down, hence you're getting less clicks, hence you're spending less money. So it's a proportional scaling thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you're even spending $10 a day on ads and you have a healthy ad cost percentage, so like in his ProfitTree account, I think it said like 10%. So Ryan knows, if you scroll down, that at a 10% ad cost or 12% ad cost percentage here, your business is making more money if you otherwise did
right
not.
here. Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to be sure. So my ads are costing 12% of my whole total profit.
So that's a really healthy ad spend. That's like extremely low, right? Like I think ours is at like 15 or 14, right?
Why is that healthy, Hannah?
That is healthy because you're still, even after your spend, you're still clearing a healthy profit. So your profit, so if you scroll up, your profit here.
And right here, right, as well as operating profit, still 53%.
Your operating 53% for a business is insane, especially a physical good business to have 53. Like most Fortune 500 companies shoot for 20% profit after all marketing costs, cost of goods sold, all that stuff. The fact that you're hitting 50% profit is insane. And I think a lot of sellers just don't understand that how like what they have until they go and look at what else is out there. But 50% profit is absolutely insane. So, at a 12% ad cost percentage, you're making more profit than you otherwise would not. And so if
I want to mention this real quick, Hannah, is because like whenever I was looking at this before, and like this is I'm tooting your horn here, but like whenever I was looking at all this before, I didn't know like, okay, well, if I stop, will I actually make that sale? What will happen? All that, there's all these questions you have. Like if I didn't run ads, I'm still making sales. How much will it drop? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're still making money because you're just trying to maximize the slice of like you already got the steak. You're just trying to cook it perfectly. Like don't worry about that. You still have the steak. And so like when I got ProfitTree, I've been using it for what, 9, 10 months now, 12 months now. I can easily look at this graph and go, okay, there's my ad cost. There's my money. Like I'm still doing good. When ad costs, and it does happen from time to time, this purple right here will leech on over and start taking up more profit. Then I know to go over to my ads and kind of turn off the bad listings.
Right.
But it's not until, I'm a simple Jack. And so these beautiful colors in a circle really explain stuff to me pretty well. So
let me explain one thing here, because this one person here is saying, yeah, mine's at 200 per day. So let me just explain the point I was trying to get to with your graph going down, why this is so valuable. Like this is such a valuable point is because you cheese curdler, your name is it's at 200 a day. So if you have your ad budget at 200 a day and you've only had it at 200 a day for say the last 60 days, if you go into your Etsy account and calculate your ad cost percentage and your ad cost percentage is hitting your target profit, like you're still hitting a healthy profit, you turning that to like say, let's pretend that Ryan's was only at 200 a day and he was clearing that 12% ad cost percentage. Ryan putting his budget from a 200 a day to $1,000 a day does not mean that 12% tomorrow is going to turn to 50% because he increased his budget. Etsy ads charges you in a way called pay per click. So it's your ads are being shown to the same quality people at 200 a day versus $1,000 a day. So putting your budget from 200 to 1,000, if it's hitting target profit as it is at 200, you putting that budget to 1,000 isn't going to change your ad cost. It's not going to make your ad cost percentage go up. It's just going to increase your top line because again, your listings are going to get shown just to the same quality people at $200 a day versus $1,000 a day. It's just going to be shown to more people. And so you're going to proportionally scale. So going from 200 to 1,000, That's your lowest hanging fruit to probably doubling your sales, just increasing your budget. If it's healthy at $200 a day and it makes sense financially right now, then just increasing your budget is the easiest thing to just increase your sales if that is what you want. So
let me see if I can go. Well, I don't have this stuff synchronized right now, Hannah.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
I wish I could. So what I like on ProfitTree too. So Hannah always talks about, this is what the metric that most people go off of. And so this is your ROAS. And so what ROAS is, and I don't know if it's like perfect on the screen, is like if I spend $1, I get back $5.93, right? And so this is what I always went off of, because you want to have a ROAS above, let's say 3 or 4 is a good number. But what Hannah introduced me to, and this really helped, like, one, ease my mind and like keep it maxed out at $1,000 a day. She said, and she can show me this a little bit. She goes off of tacos. And so even though my ROAS is 6% on this listing right here, so I spend $1, I get back 6. I know that's good. I'm happy. She factors in tacos. And so whenever I go back to this financial breakdown, it's factoring in the total cost, the revenue you're getting in from that listing, from all the different ad sources, and the people that purchased after seeing your ad. And so to answer the question, right, Hannah, of like, let's see, where is it? God, I thought somebody had one on here. Is like, what, how do I know if, it's because of the ads or not because? It's the tacos is what does it.
So what is tacos versus ROAS? So ROAS is analyzing the revenue that came out only from the ad. Tacos is analyzing what came out of all of those clicks, whether they were paid or organic, right? And so the 12,000 ad spend to the 99,000 total sales, that total sales, if you hover over the 99,000 over there, you can see it's the ad from the ad revenue from the listing, the ad revenue from other listings. So they clicked on the ad and they went in your shop and bought something else. Why does that matter? That matters because the discovery of your shop and the purchase would have never happened if they didn't click on that initial ad. So this is this total sales bucket is not something that you can even calculate without software, basically, because there's no way for you to manually calculate it. And then it's also including your organic revenue. So now when you analyze what you spent versus your total sales, so that no matter how they clicked, whether it was paid or organic, that 99,000 represents all of the money that came out of the click on that listing, right? Yeah. And so when you analyze your ad cost percentage instead of ROAS, the reason why ROAS is not good to look at is because sometimes your ROAS can look bad, but your tacos is good. And historically, you would not want to turn off a listing if the tacos still financially make sense, right? Yeah. Like you wouldn't want, even if it looked like on the ad level, the ads were sucking. If that listing is doing well organically, you would want to keep the ads going because those added clicks, those add to carts, those purchases, those reviews are contributing. The ads are contributing to the organic growth of that listing as well. And it's that snowball effect. Yeah. Plus there's only a 30-day attribution. So it's just factoring in the organic amount of sales as well. And if that tacos is hitting your target profit for that listing, then you would not want to turn it off. So 13% tacos. If you click on the listing title, it'll bring you to the actual listing. So like click on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And for context, I try to keep my stuff around 15%. And so what I'll do is, like, if I see this listing right here at 28%, which means I have low ROAS and it's not generating a lot of organic, traffic, then I'll go onto my Etsy ads. I'll find that listing and then I'll turn it off. And so I don't check my ads on Etsy anymore. I just manage my budget there, and I check all of my ads on ProfitTree. That's pretty much how I
like operate. This are we on a 30-day window here? Let's just see.
30-day window. Yep.
So 30 and last month, this one's at 28%, which looks like an outlier here. It only spent $27, which isn't that much. But like I would maybe even look at this, like for you, because your prices are higher, I would look at maybe like a 60-day window and see it. Because maybe maybe go, instead of just last month, go from 12/1 to.
You're gonna have to sync everything again?
No. Last year is a really big time sample, but I would say go from like December 1st to January, like to today. Like if you went custom. Because at least you can see, like in December is at 28%, but let's just see how it changes. And then go to today or whatever. Let's just see if there's any that are kind of, oh no, they're all pretty healthy.
Well, and then I can sort it real quick. So let me look at that. Just worst tacos. Here we go.
Yeah. So $17 is still too early.
This one did. So that listing's no longer on there because I guess I didn't spend. It's better now over the course of the month, like the 2 months, like you're saying. But yeah, and so like this listing, 20%. I've spent a healthy enough amount of money, and so I would go turn that off. The listing. Like what Hannah was saying though is like, and maybe it's my products, it could be all wood products. We have a really good ROAS when compared to jewelry and pillows. Right? Yeah. Hannah, is that accurate?
And print on demand and digital down, like just low margin spaces in general are always going to look bad. Whereas like your ROAS look great, but it's still like what this is showing you is compared, like if you know that the majority of your listings, you want to hit 15% tacos. If you have outliers here, like you have an outlier at, that one, the 20%, you're like, oh, that's not cutting it anymore because I'd rather that money go to listings converting, giving me a bigger return, right? Then you turn that one off and let that money go to the ones that are giving you that 15 or the 12% or whatever.
Yeah. So, because if you ain't cutting it close, you ain't cutting it right. For any of my followers out there.
Exactly.
Toot my own horn there. And I want to mention something real quick, Hannah. So Hannah is going to be putting on 3 modules inside of CIC Academy in the classroom right here. And so she's going to be covering this whole ads training right here. We're going to be introducing these modules right in the next 7 days on CIC Academy. And so she'll be in here. She'll have a module covering ads, Hannah. And what are the other 2 modules?
It's about ads, Cogs management, and also how to set up a SKU system. So setting up a SKU system can be really painful if you don't learn how to do it from the beginning. And so we're showing how to build a meaningful SKU system for your woodworking business. Yeah.
And by the way, she has this, and I don't know if you probably can't show it, Hannah, or it's crazy cool because she had to manage, 1,500 different Etsy listings and all the different SKUs associated with them. And so she has this beautiful spreadsheet, and like you put like the types of wood, the sizes, and then it automatically spits out SKUs. So it's really cool. So she will be adding that to CIC Academy with the Etsy Accelerator course. So if y'all guys interested in that, check it out. And Hannah's going to pop in time to time and, give us her 2 cents on her, on those 3 videos that she's popping in. So she's awesome.
And she's Curdler. He just upped his budget. Well, he said, I have one at 9 ROAS. That's really good. What was your ad cost percentage for like the last couple of months? Because that is the biggest thing to give people confidence. Even if you only had your budget at $10 a day, but you've been spending that $10 a day for the last 3 months, that is a good data to give you a green or a red light that says, okay, even only at $10 a day, my ad cost percentage is still healthy. Just go ahead, turn that bad boy up.
Now, Dennis had a good question here for you, Hannah. Does running Etsy ads make your product appear at the top of a search in my given item listing? And I'm guessing he means like the niche. So like running ads doesn't guarantee you to pop up at the top of a page or any search, right? Like
no. So it doesn't, it is going to put you more towards the top of the page sometimes, but we don't know. Etsy is not going to tell us, hey, you're showing up here right now. Like you don't know that, but that is generally what Etsy ads are doing. However, the way that the algorithm judges your listing is similar to just like an organic listing, right? Out of every 100 listings you post, you're going to have 10 to 20% that make all your money, right? So like out of the data sample of all the, I have a Band-Aid on my finger. That's what that's showing. Okay. So it's the same thing with Etsy ads. You post 100 listings, 10 to 20% of those listings are going to make you 80% of your sales, right? When you take the ones that sell regularly, well, out of that organic batch, right? There's going to be another percentage that says this pool that sells well organically this smaller pool makes sense financially with ads, right? And your goal is to feed things at the top by launching new products and testing out new listings on a consistent basis, get your organic pool growing that sell well organically, right? Then out of those winners, you put ad money behind the ones that sell well organically. Out of those ones, there's going to be a percentage that the Etsy ads algorithm does the same thing with, where out of, the 20 that won from the organic, maybe 5 to 10 are the ones that crush it with Etsy ads.
Yep.
Not all listings that sell well organically are going to financially make sense with Etsy ads, and that's okay. But the idea is that as this pool grows and you're feeding things at the top, the bottom pool is also growing at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think too, like my simple Jack, not nearly as intelligent as you there, Hannah. Etsy wants to make as much money as possible. And make people as happy as possible. And so if your listing is getting a lot of clicks and a lot of sales, Etsy's making money from those clicks and they're making money from your item selling. And so if your ads are just not producing on Etsy, they're not going to push them as hard. And that's why like the very first picture is super important, because you can't have a crappy listing and run ads to it and expect a lot of performance. Like it'll help you get found, but over a long time horizon, like that may not perform well. So it helps you get found, but it doesn't help you get clicked on. And that's like a difference where like you do need to still focus on, good pictures and a good listing in order for ads to work. Right.
Right.
You're not going to have a bad picture. In ads.
If you have the rule of thumb with ads is like, if you have never proven to make any organic sales, or if you're struggling to get organic sales, ads are not going to be the solution for you. Ads come into play when you have proven that you can sell. Now, who should run ads? Everyone can run ads, but if you have been live for like 2-3 months and you haven't made one sale, ads are not the savior, right? If it's not going to sell well organically, it's most likely it's not going to work with ads. However, if you have a listing that's made a couple of sales, right, then that's a good green light to say, okay, maybe it's ready to put some money into this listing, basically.
Yeah. I just wanted to put this comment on here. So, and he is sacrificing himself and his shop. So if you do need a guinea pig to grow up to the next 6-7 figure shop, R&R Woodworking Custom Engraving would gladly be your guinea pig. I just want to throw that out there, give him a shout out on here.
All right,
guys, but I just figured I'd do that for you there.
Thank you.
So Columbia Real Estate, Adrian. So Hannah's stuff will be on there in the next 7 days. So we're going to put it on there. And sorry, y'all guys are cracking me up in the chat. Hannah's stuff will be on there in the next 7 days, and it's just going to go. It's really good. So I love her SKU making, and I love all of the ads. I mean, like, it's great. Over my head, I watched the videos multiple times already. So, I'm just behind on getting them up. But
that's okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can even do maybe later down the road, we could do another more in-depth one on the SKU stuff. I don't know. Whatever you want to do, Ryan. We can do it all.
Yeah. And I do want to just toot your horn one more time, Hannah. So like if y'all do want to check out ProfitTree, like that software is not expensive, right? And it's like you can get a lifetime access on this link that I'm showing. Like $60 a year, $70, $60 a year.
The lifetime is forever. So the difference between that link is to our lifetime offer, where it's one time $67, you get access to our ads feature and you get access to your dashboard. You don't get the listing or the product reports. It's like the lifetime access is the equivalent to our starter plan, if you want to know. And then the pro plan gets you access to the listing report and the product report. That one is $30 a month. But the lifetime offer is good for beginners. Like if you don't want to pay, whatever, but we're very clear that the lifetime plan, it's a one-time payment, but it's the equivalent of our starter plan. So if you go to ProfitTree.io and you look at the pricing, you'll see what's included in starter versus pro. But it's the starter plan today. Like if we add more features to the starter plan, you would get grandfathered into it. So the what you get is only like that's in theory, it should only get better as time goes on. Like you would get more stuff over time, not, but
And I do want to note, Hannah is the owner of that, she is running it all. And so would help out a sister from another mister. So, if y'all, it's not expensive. Like all of that data that I'm getting from my, $1 million Etsy shop or whatever is $30 a month for me. And then the lifetime one is really good for beginners. So if you're not just like, throwing off a ton of cash, I like the lifetime, and then you can always upgrade once you take off, and that stuff really just helps. So
yes.
I just want to throw you.
And the lifetime it also gets you into the community. It doesn't get you coaching, but it does put you into the community, and I answer all of my stuff in the community and everything. So
and Carpenter Katie asked I love the name, by the way, Katie. That is if that's your business name or that's a cool name. So I figured you can take this question here, Hannah.
Yes.
Do the Etsy ads run off-site or only within Etsy?
Both. So there's two types of ads that you can run. If you've done less than $10,000 in revenue on Etsy, you have an option to opt out of offsite ads. Offsite ads, what that means is that your ad is getting pushed basically to the biggest partner platform they have, that is Google Shopping campaigns. So offsite ads are like when you type something into Google. I mean, they have other partners besides Google, but the biggest one is Google Shopping campaigns, which is like this, like when you show up here.
Right here. So these are all Google ads, correct, Hannah? If you want to explain this.
I don't know if these are sponsored ones, but go to the top. If you see the word
right here, these are
sponsored. Those are the sponsored words. So like that. So if you have done less than $10,000 in revenue in 1 year, you can opt out of it. If you haven't, if you've done over $10,000 in 1 calendar year, you're not allowed to opt out of ads. So when you set your budget to 1,000 or whatever, you're automatically opting into offsite ads. But the thing is that the payment is a flat for offsite ads. It's different than Etsy ads, like on-site ads. On-site ads are like when you go to Etsy and you see sponsored at the top for a search page, right? So the difference is that on-site ads charge you per click and you have to earn the click. Offsite ads, they only charge you per sale, which is the most fair game that you can play in terms of media buying, because there's no risk. Like you're actually only paying if someone actually buys, and Etsy actually refunds you the bill if the customer cancels their order, which is like insane. So if you're under 10,000 a year, the bill is going to be 15%. Right, yeah, there you go. 15% of the sale price. If you are over $10,000 a year, you can't opt out of it, and it drops to 12%.
Right
but
here,
12%, like 12%, like you saw my account's at 14% on average. So 12%, like we're 100% opted in, or we would want. It's not an option for us anymore, but like that's insane. Like that is the absolute best deal. The fact that they refund you if you get a cancellation is just like, what? It's just not a thing. Like,
so this is it's gonna increase the ad cost a little bit
for you. Yes, yeah.
You would still kind of like, you can't opt out of them. It's what's done is done there, but that's what it is. Yeah. So if somebody would click on that and buy it, they're charging me 15% plus Etsy fees, correct?
No, Hannah? For you, since you've been over 10,000, you're at 12% and Etsy fees. So you're all in on fees, 6.5%, 18.5%, which still is a sexier cost per acquisition than if you were running on Meta. The name of the game with Meta now is like you almost break even on the first sale, and then you make your money on retargeting with the second and the third sale. So 18% for cost per acquisition is still cheap compared to if you were going to run on Meta or Google. If you're going to do that same Google ad yourself, it's going to be 40%. You know what I mean? For us on the pillows, it would break even. Like for us, so that meant for us, it was at 50%. Yeah. So 18% is still good.
And even my shop, guys, in December, we did, what was it? I can look real quick. So December, last month, we did 258,000 a quarter, or 223 in sales in December. I don't even go to my dashboard. I just go here. It's super nice. So we did that. Offsite ads only brought us 10K in sales and only cost us $1,000, right? And so they're not a massive thing. I mean, we spent 46,000 operating fees and cost of goods, so it's not, what was that number again? $1,000 is not a massive percentage, but they do it automatically. It's nothing to be scared of on Etsy, in my opinion.
But it's also still profitable. Like my guess for you is 12% is still very profitable for you. And it's like you spent that $1,000 to make that 10,000, but that's the 10,000. You wouldn't have otherwise made that 10,000. You know what I mean? So it's like still, very good. Someone
and
said,
I couldn't do anything about it anyways if I wanted to. So.
Yeah, you can't. The pros outweigh the cons. Someone said, wait, so Etsy will only charge you if someone buys from your shop. Etsy only charge you if you're talking about ads. I mean, well, ads for on-site ads, you're getting billed for the click. For offsite ads, yes, you're only paying for the sale. If that makes sense.
And SDL Greg, good to see you, man. Glad you tuned in. I need to I'll have you on here pretty soon, man. Love to have you on the live. But yeah, and so Bradley, so like she was saying, the PPC ads, and so Google ads, and I guess I'm not sharing. That would probably help. Window, computer illiterate. That's why I have Hannah. So Google ads, they charge you 15% or 12 to 15% whenever they buy that listing. On Etsy, if I were to click in, this is my competitor. Let me click them. So I just click my competitor. They're going to charge them, whatever. What is a good PPC? Like, is it $1, Hannah? 50 cents, a penny?
$1 is actually kind of expensive for Etsy. I mean, on Etsy, I don't know. I see ranges anywhere from like 15 to like 50 cents, 60 cents. Okay. But
so if I can find another competitor, I can charge them.
Like honestly, with the tacos calculator, like some people like get caught up in cost per click. I mean, it's interesting to look at, but CPC really doesn't matter because it's just about the return that you're getting. So even if
I personally wanted to know that way. Whenever I click on somebody's listing, I want to know if I'm making them, 40 cents. I'm making them pay 40 cents to Etsy.
That's a cool thing. What is that?
Laser cut piggy bank. It's a competitor. It's not that cool.
They suck.
Yeah, they suck. Okay, cool. I mean, but anyways, once again, I toot your horn because I love this stuff, and I only use the basics. Hannah can talk about, or she goes more in depth in all this stuff, especially in the 3 courses, once again, that we're putting on Accelerator. Hannah's doing the whole thing. I'm not even butting in, and she made it specifically for woodworkers and CNC operators. And so, yeah. Teddy Bear Designs, TBD Gaming wants to know if he gets the tacos with the lifetime.
You do get the ads tab, but you only get a 30-day sales window. So that is the difference between the pro and the pro. You get everything. The lifetime or the starter plan, that's the same thing. It's only 30 days of sales data.
Yeah, and it's $30 a month. I just put a link to the pro plan as well right here if anybody's interested, and I'm going to link that to the thing. But like I said, if your Etsy shop, and this is Hannah will probably hate me for this, but if your Etsy shop is not, you're doing 10 sales a month or something like that, nothing crazy, 10, 15, 20 sales a month, 30 sales a month, like the lifetime is perfect for you just to get a scope of things and start using it. And then when you start scaling up to, quite a few per month, 50, 20, order a day, couple orders a day, 5 orders a day, that's when, I would go to the $30 a month thing. That's me personally.
In the beginning, I mean, it's all about just getting a proof of concept. Do people want what you have to sell? Like that's really the winning in the beginning, make one. Go ahead.
What do you see, Hannah, that, because I'm only in the woodworking space and you mentor people from like every walk on Etsy. What do you see that separates, like, because you're talking about multiple people that are doing 6 figures on Etsy, like no problem, all these different, I mean, you have literally hundreds of people with Etsy shops on ProfitTree that you're coaching up and stuff. So like, what is it that separates, like, there's like, what's the gap difference? Is it the niche? Is it photos? I know it could be all of the above, but like, is it niche or is it photos? Is it, listing optimization? Like, what is it that really tips people over the edge?
That makes or breaks?
Yeah.
Oh.
Putting you on the spot here.
Makes or breaks. I feel like it's just like the willingness to like keep going. Like, cause like if you've never done I feel like so many people have like a misconception. They have wrong expectations of like build what it is to build a business. Like even after all my failed businesses and even all my failed attempts, like same thing with software. Like I came into the game with software and ProfitTree thinking that like, oh, I got this, it's gonna be so easy. And it's just not the right mentality. And the people that really make it big and like are in it for the long play are people that like come into it with the expectation that it might, like, starting a business, whether it's on Etsy or whatever, it might very well be the hardest thing that you've ever done. And it's not hard physically, it's hard mentally, because you're putting your name on something, you're putting something out to the world that you don't really know if it's going to work out. And in the beginning, it really might not work out, but it's the people that are like willing to stick through it until it works out.
But
And
what is the lever? Like, so if somebody posted something and they're not making any sales, right? Like,
it's having the tenacity to try again and again and again.
What are they trying though? What are they?
Mostly the two main things that it comes down to, obviously, is a broad answer, but product and image, right? If you've split tested that image 10 different ways and it's not working, then it's probably the product. And I'm not saying that you have to do 10 different images every time you launch a product, but like it always comes down to two things. It's either no one wants what you actually have to sell because the product isn't a strong enough value proposition, or or the product actually is killer. It's just you don't know how to market it properly within your creative marketing. And value proposition means the product that you're actually selling, the quality in the price compared to your competition. It's doing all that research, your drop down menu and your variation options in comparison to your competition. So all of that though is solved and discovered in your research before you even go to market, which I'm sure is like what you show in your academy and everything, where it's like you want to, if you're going to put time, money, and energy into a product or a listing, right? There's research that should be done before to see what the standard is that you have to compete at. And that comes down to price, that comes down to the actual product, the quality of the product. If you're doing personalization, how many variations of fonts, it's like all those things are determined. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, where's this is kind of funny right here. I just had to push this comment up. Do you see it, Hannah? Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to realize you have an ugly baby. Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah. I'm going to share my screen because this is like one of the key things I teach in the academy. And I think it's worth sharing on here. If somebody wants to really pause their screen and take every bit of this, they probably could, but it's very hard to implement without knowledge. But like, it's always separated into two things. First, you have to get visits. And so first somebody has to click on your listing. Then the next thing they have to do is like buy the thing, right? And so what Hannah's talking about is like, one, you want to pick the right product to pick, right? But main thing is you've got to get them to click on you. So when she talks about image, right? Like if these suck, nobody's going to click on you. And so like I always tell people on my channel, like I spend 40 to 80 hours on like getting the right image down and testing out variations. I mean, like all of this, and this is Busy Puzzle. It's one of my favorite like shops to study. They sell puzzles, right? But it's like they have, how many listings is this? 974 listings, and most of them are puzzles. And so they're split testing, like Hannah's saying, all these different variations in the images to see which one works. And so that is the visit side. And there's different ways to increase the visits, and like with pricing and active shops and like getting found, there's different things you can do there. But the first and foremost is just going to be varying this first picture right here. Then once they click and you now have a visit, then it's how do I get them? And Hannah was talking about the drop downs in here. How do I make this not scary for people? How do they, know they're getting a good deal? What do my other 7 or 8, 9, 10 photos look like? Does my video show the right stuff? And so then you're on the conversion side. And then there's basic things you do during the conversion side to make sure that they are buying from you, and not getting scared and clicking off or finding somebody else's listing down here and going to it. Right. And so I think you're right, Hannah. I was just trying to summarize it for everybody. You know, if you do have that ugly baby, a lot of times maybe just take cuter pictures of that ugly baby. And then if I have to go off with that thing. So maybe just take cuter pictures of the ugly baby. Try that first. Then if you try the 10, 20 different pictures of that ugly baby, then you can, you know what, I need a different baby, right? And you go make another baby 9 months later, take better pictures, right? But so, and I think you hit the nail on the head of the tenacity thing as well.
Yeah.
It sucks for a long time until you figure it out.
Yeah, there's just a whole thing of confidence that happens. There's a whole snowball effects of just momentum energetically that happens when someone finally gives you money for something that you made. There was something that I feel like you even said. Was it you or Steven that said something about how do you know the product is bad? You know that the product, if you're not getting any clicks, or like if Etsy's not giving the listing any exposure, that means that the image is bad. Yeah. I don't know. There was something, and then maybe
and that's what I keep talking about. Like there's two different things. So like if you're not getting any views at all, like any views, so like Etsy's not even showing you to people, then it's probably the product, because or the way like your title and your tags are situated, right? Listing optimization. But then if nobody's clicking on it at all, then that's your photo. And then if nobody's buying it, that's all the guts inside of it. That's something like that's the three. I say a lot of stuff, so I probably worded it much better.
I think that was it. It's like, because the hardest thing in the beginning is like, and that's the part you don't really know is it that my image sucks or is it that the product sucks? And it's hard to determine in the beginning when you're like less than 30 days in, like which one it is. Is it the image or is it the actual product? But if you did the research up front, in terms of like the imagery and the lighting and the actual product, right? Like at least you know if you're competing one-to-one for things that are working, right? Then it's like it's hard. It's easier to decipher. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying at this point.
Guys, we have another 3 minutes on here because Hannah has to hop on another call because she is a very busy person. So I do want to put her. She has. If you do want to be on our bi-weekly coaching call, I'll do put. That's also pinned right here. If you want to get up close and personal with Hannah and get all of that information there. So she has about 3 more minutes before she has to go on to other things, not us woodworkers, but that's okay. So if you have any last questions for her, do not be afraid to ask, and definitely check out ProfitTree because she owns it. It's amazing. And once again, she will be on CIC Academy. If you're ever interested in that, any of the links are in any of the descriptions of my videos, and definitely give her a like and all that good stuff. Hannah, do you have any, what's the biggest thing? I know we talked about the biggest thing for Etsy shops and Etsy listings, but what would you say to the woodworkers out there that are thinking about Etsy and that are thinking about Etsy or maybe on the fence or been on there for a little bit and are not doing so well?
If you've been on there for a little bit and you're not doing so well, I think you need to evaluate where your time's going and how what are you doing, right? What are you doing repetitively, right? And you got to change something, right? Because you can't just do the same thing and expect a different result, right? And so if you have been taking your images only one single way for the last year and it's not working, then we got to change the image. Right? If you've been only launching the same product over and over again and it's not increasing your top line, then you need to maybe think about a new product, right? You're just always challenging where you're time is and I can't emphasize this enough. Time is our worst enemy, and you really want to vet your time and what you're doing. And if you've been doing something consistently and it's not working, you need to challenge yourself and ask yourself, okay, what can I spend this time doing that is slightly different than what I did before that might yield a different result? And I mean, that could be a plethora of things. You know, this is just a broad answer, but I think that's really the most important thing. And like, I guess like the biggest example that I can give that we had a challenge with like with our dad, which I go back to my product line. It's like, you know, they kept wanting to source more expensive fabric to make more expensive pillows. And I'm like, okay, well, you guys, we just spent a whole year doing just that. Yes, we're increasing, we have a consistent launch process, but we're not making more money on Etsy. It's not moving the needle. It's keeping us afloat, but it's not changing anything. So what do we need to do? Okay, well, let's launch pillow inserts, right? That the thing that goes inside the pillow, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, sales skyrocket, right? That's a low-hanging fruit thing that just, you know, everyone that has a pillow needs a pillow insert, right? I mean, we got scammed with our first like 3 rounds of getting tests of pillow inserts, so it was a whole thing. But now we have pillow inserts, and so you know, and then after, what comes after that? Like we said, wall art, right? And then if wall art tanks and everyone hates our wall art, then we try, you know, it's just like you're constantly tweaking the dials, changing, and doing slightly different things than you did before until
less time in the shop, more time focusing on sales if you want to increase sales. That's another thing for us woodworkers. we like to be in the shop a lot more, and I've learned if I'm in the shop less and on Etsy more, I typically make more sales on Etsy. If I'm in the shop more, I get better on making stuff, but not better on Etsy. So.
Right. Or find that salesperson that likes to obsess. If you hate numbers and sales, then you need to find someone that brings that opposite value, that is that person, you know, and partnerships can go really wrong, or if you have the right partner, it can go really, really well. It's just like a marriage kind of.
Last question here, Hannah, and then I'm gonna let you go because I know you got to get going. Do you recommend having more than one Etsy shop?
The only time I recommend opening up any second channel, whether it's in a second shop, another sales channel, is if your first shop is not only running almost by itself, but it's almost growing without you, meaning you have systems in place that allows you to step away and focus on new revenue streams. Because opening a second shop, like there's something that like opening up a second and a third business is like, oh, it's just another business. Oh, it's still just wood or whatever. You're giving yourself a new set of problems at the same time. And what you don't have is time. So if you do have time to do that, then you can. But also sometimes people want to open a second shop, even though the products that they're trying to sell in that second shop actually make sense to sell in their first shop. So that's just another thing to challenge yourself up. If it's in the wood space and it makes sense, keep it in one shop. I would personally, because it's so much harder to build new momentum than start over. Whatever unrelated. Yeah, if they're unrelated, then same thing. Like going into an unrelated niche that you've never done, it's going to present a new set of problems, solving a new set of problems for a new set of customer avatar. Okay, it's a whole different engine, similar engine but different, which requires a whole different needs, wants, fears, and goals. Don't even look at opening a second shop until the first one is not only running but also growing almost without you. But if you do have that, the first one is still going to suffer at the expense of the second one, but at least you have an organism that's still thriving and growing, even if you're not there, showing up 24 hours a day, basically.
Yep. Well, Hannah, thank you for your time, guys. Let Hannah know, if you appreciated her time today, how good she did. If you'd like me to have her back on the channel in the future, let me know in the comments. And guys, give this a like. This channel, this live stream will grow. We need y'all's help. So any likes, any comments will be a huge help. And once again, I'd like to thank Hannah for taking time out of her busy schedule to come on this live and join us. So thank you, Hannah. Guys, bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.